I wonder what he's looking at. Could be that Coyote and the Mustang. A little bit of scrap metal that I could have tripped over because, yep, I was distracted by this 1966 Mustang getting worked on. Welcome to Road Odyssey. I really do appreciate you joining me. And if you like the videos that I provide, please subscribe. And if you're on Rumble, please follow. Keith Montgomery, a really cool guy, taught me a lot of stuff so far. He does a lot of metal work over at Hickman Creations. I really think I need to start at the beginning. Here I am working on this very video, realizing I don't have any photos of this Mustang when they were first beginning to work on it. Keith Montgomery was very kind to send me some of the pictures that he had. Man, this thing was rough. Just look at all this. Now, it's not totally rusted out, which is really good. And it does seem to be pretty straight and intact. So let's continue looking at what I discovered as the days went by. I never took notice of this car. Don't know where it came from. But yeah, June 1st, 2023 was when I was walking through the shop and just almost tripped over some of this stuff because I'm kind of looking around at all the eye candy and there's Keith over there working on something and it's like, oh, wow, a really cool Mustang. This is a 1966 that they're working on at Hickman Creations. They had already put the new chassis, and I'll tell you more about the chassis in a minute, put the new chassis down on the table and got the body up there. Keith has already been ripping into this thing, doing all kinds of work. Aside from ripping out all the old stuff, you can see he was working around the chassis parts, getting in some new pieces. At this time, a lot of that included the flooring, and then maybe a little bit back there with the tubs and stuff. So June 1st, he was really beginning to rip into this thing. A fast look as we move around back before we continue with the transmission. Now, when I arrived at the shop, Keith Hickman had actually caught me at the shop door and showed me this transmission, the JR3Z 7000 BRM. It is a 10-speed automatic transmission, a hell of a transmission. This thing's going to take a ton of power. Leaving June 1st, looking at the new quarters and door panels. For whatever reason, I showed up about 2 weeks later, June 13th. I do another walk around just so you can get another quick view of what the progress is looking like on the car at this time. I really think they're going to do a great job on this. Looking up front, you see the firewall's been done and some of these inside areas for the engine bay. Where the battery compartment is, all of that metal had to be totally rebuilt, reworked. Along the chassis, of course, that was redone. And then right there on that corner was completely redone as well. Firewall, like I said. So moving back through the doorway, you can see he's getting the front floor footwells done. And I mentioned before that the floor is new. And all the way back to the tubs, that should be fairly new as well, I believe. So yeah, getting around back, this thing is looking pretty ship shape. A quick reminder that Keith worked on this firewall. He worked on this corner on the passenger side extensively. And then really a lot of work outside and inside where the battery was. That whole area had to be completely redone. Then on the front here, this sort of bridging portion from either side, all of that was rebuilt. And then down on this corner, of course, he had to rebuild a lot of this. Seems to be a pattern here. About 2 weeks or so later, June 29th, I returned and just kind of walking around seeing the other body parts like front fenders, doors, and gas tank and stuff sitting around. They'd taken the body off the chassis, so therefore I was able to get a good walk around of all of this stuff for you to see. Now, a little bit more information on the chassis. This was from the Roadster Shop, and as you can see, when you start choosing, it was the Spec Series, the one on the left, for almost 14 grand. So another picture of it off the internet website, and just a whole lot of information about this. But, you know, these things are necessary when you're dropping a big old brand new engine into a car. You have got to have a chassis that will be able to take that power. So that's why you need all these really good brake systems, shocks, rear end, all that stuff is necessary now for that big motor. And speaking of the engine, Gen 3 5.0 Coyote 460 horsepower crate engine, about $11,000 or so. All kinds of good stuff about this. So it should deliver, it says, at least 450, 460 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque. So just a really cool engine, and I think it's going to make this thing get up and go like crazy. A quick look again at the engine and the transmission. This is going to be a dynamic duo for sure. Hopefully these four parts will join together in the near future. Taking one last look at some of the work that's been done on this. So we are now up to date at the end of June, looking at all the wonderful body work that has been pretty well completed thus far. So all of this work up front is looking very smooth and just really almost like new. The inside is looking very nice as well. Now, speaking of the inside, let's talk about the tubs in the back real quick. I do hope you can see this. Keith had added at least 1.5 inches to the wheel wells. So he had to split the wheel wells, then recut the wheel wells so that they fit the dimensions of this whole back S-curved kind of area. And then added in that 1.5 inches of metal to really increase their girth for, hey, bigger wheels. As we back out of the inside and look around back, it's time for me to say goodbye. I hope y'all have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Rumble, please follow. See you later. Bye.